It's a business to build Paddy and make him easy fights. But I hope Justin gonna kick his, and we're gonna forget about Paddy all our life. Justin, if you need the help, let me know. I'll fly to you and help you.
The UFC is buzzing again, not for Arman versus Ilya, but for the upcoming Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett matchup, and Arman Tsarukyan has jumped in openly backing Justin, even offering to help him train if he needs it. Kicking things off, Dana White confirmed that Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett is officially set for the interim lightweight title after Ilya Topuria announced he won't be fighting in the first quarter due to personal issues. With the champion out, the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy will grab the interim belt and secure the next shot at Topuria. This announcement immediately shifted the division's landscape and put all eyes on this unexpected matchup.
Obviously, you just saw Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim title. Earlier, Topuria posted, "I'm dealing with some personal problems, so I'm not gonna fight the first quarter." So the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy will be the interim title, and then they will face Topuria.
Next, Ilya Topuria jumped in with a tweet of his own, telling Paddy to take care of business in his next fight, and then posted a dancing clip aimed directly at Arman, saying the dance was for him. Fans had mixed reactions, with some loving the mind games, and others calling it unnecessary drama. Ilya Topuria wrote a tweet saying, "Paddy, win your next fight. Hands up, chin down. And Arman Peta, this dance is for you." Moving on to Arman Tsarukyan, he was asked if he'd back up the Gaethje versus Paddy interim title fight, and he shut that idea down fast, saying he's not doing it unless the UFC pays big. Still, he admitted he'll stay ready behind the scenes in case something happens a couple of weeks out. If an opportunity opens up, Arman's willing to jump in and take the risk.
Is there a world in which you would back up an interim title fight between Paddy and Justin?
No way. Unless if they pay good money, I'm not gonna be backup. But I'm gonna train just in case if something happened before 2-3 weeks, so I can jump in. I gotta take the risk.
Arman didn't hold back when asked if he'd rather be the one to silence Paddy himself. He said absolutely, and promised it wouldn't be a choke or a quick finish. He explained that if he ever gets Paddy on the ground, it's elbows only, all night, until Paddy's face is covered in cuts. He even said his goal would be to leave a lot of marks on Paddy.
Same like I would just maul his face on the ground just with my elbows. Even when I fought with Hooker, I was thinking, what should I do when I was on the top? Should I choke him or I just should like elbow him? And I just pick, okay, no problem. Let's finish this fight. But with Paddy, I'm not gonna for the choke. I'm gonna just elbow him all day, all night. Just make his face like bleeding. I gotta leave a lot of marks on his face. That's my goal.
Next, he spoke on Justin Gaethje's upcoming fight with Paddy Pimblett, saying he hopes Justin stays disciplined. No partying, no distractions, just full focus. He called it Gaethje's last real shot, win the interim belt, fight for the undisputed title, then ride off on top. Arman even offered to fly out and help Justin train if needed, making it clear he wants Gaethje to win, especially because he can't stand Paddy.
Justin Gaethje not gonna drink, party, gonna train, dedicate himself, be focused. It's his last chance in this life. He was fighting for the title maybe 5 times. So this is his chance, and the end of his career, win the interim title, fight for the real title, and then retire. That's the best for him. And I'm gonna Justin, if you need the help, let me know. I'll fly to you and help you.
Moreover, Michael Bisping said Ilya versus Paddy had a great built-in storyline, but Justin versus Paddy is still a brutal matchup, reminding fans that despite getting flatlined by Holloway, Gaethje is still the human highlight reel with insane power, kicks, and pressure. He added that Ilya versus Paddy has a great storyline behind it, but before that, Paddy has to get through a very dangerous Justin Gaethje.
We saw last time against Michael Chandler, he is the real deal. He absolutely smoked him. He's undefeated in the UFC. He put a beating on Michael Chandler. And let's remember, Chandler went toe-to-toe with Gaethje, gave Dustin Poirier a good run, knocked out Dan Hooker. So it's not like he's a bum. Yes, he hasn't been winning fights. We all know that. But Paddy made it look different. He beat the living hell out of him. Simple as that. And I knew he had something coming up because last week when I saw him in Qatar, the man was playing paddle, right? Like a paddler, bro. He had his shirt off in the sun. He was glistening. He had the six-pack. He looked great. We all call him Paddy the Fatty, right? Well, he isn't fat right now. The man looked to be in the best shape of his life.
Bisping also gave Paddy his credit, pointing out how he schooled Michael Chandler, beating him worse than anyone expected, and reminding everyone that Chandler went to war with Gaethje and Poirier. He said Paddy looked sharper than ever recently, lean, shredded, and in the best shape of his life, proving he's no Paddy the Fatty right now.
We saw last time against Michael Chandler, he is the real deal. He absolutely smoked him. He's undefeated in the UFC. He put a beating on Michael Chandler. And let's remember, Chandler went toe-to-toe with Gaethje, gave Dustin Poirier a good run, knocked out Dan Hooker. So it's not like he's a bum. Yes, he hasn't been winning fights. We all know that. But Paddy made it look different. He beat the living hell out of him. Simple as that. And I knew he had something coming up because last week when I saw him in Qatar, the man was playing paddle, right? Like a paddler, bro. He had his shirt off in the sun. He was glistening. He had the six-pack. He looked great. We all call him Paddy the Fatty, right? Well, he isn't fat right now. The man looked to be in the best shape of his life.
While breaking down what this matchup truly means for both men, Bisping said that an interim belt would catapult Paddy into #1 contender status and add another UK champion to the list. But for Justin Gaethje, this is the final run, a last shot at UFC gold after failed title attempts against Oliveira and Khabib, making this fight absolutely do or die for him.
We know an interim champion basically means the #1 contender. But if Paddy can pull it off, unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy Pimblett.
Furthermore, Aljamain Sterling pointed out that Arman Tsarukyan earned his #1 spot the hard way, taking the Islam fight, getting injured, then still stepping in as the backup and making weight to stay in the UFC's good books. He followed that by defending his rank and finishing Dan Hooker. Aljo added that just a week later, Arman would have taken the interim fight with Paddy or Gaethje, unless he truly meant it when he said Ilya or nothing.
You wait in as a backup fighter, which sucks. Yeah, they pay you, but it sucks. You have to cut weight, not even knowing if you're going to actually fight. So he did that. Backup fighter. Doesn't get the call, but may wait. Show the UFC that he's a company guy. He's going to do what he can to make things right. Then he goes on and he fights again. Defends his #1 spot. Beats Dan Hooker and gets a finish. Then, I want to say, yeah, a week later, almost a week later, I'm sure if he had the opportunity to fight for the interim title between Paddy Pimblett or Justin Gaethje, he would have done it. Unless we're all completely mistaken and he said, no, I only want to fight for the title or that's it. And that's against Ilya.
Aljo added that he genuinely believes Arman would have taken the interim fight if offered. The turnaround wasn't bad. He just scored a finish and he took almost no damage. Sterling said the only unknown is how tough Arman's camp was, but from the outside, it looked like a perfect window. That's why to him, it sucks to see Arman miss out on the spot.
I think Arman would have taken the fight. That's just what I would think. It's not too bad of a turnaround. And on top of that, he just won, got a finish, didn't take a lot of damage. I don't know how hard the training camp was, but didn't take a lot of damage. It sucks to see that.
Moving over, Ariel Helwani said Ilia Topuria had a completely valid reason not to fight, stressing that competing with your mind elsewhere is dangerous when the stakes are this high. He noted that Ilia's star power is too big to risk stepping in compromised or unfocused. According to Ariel, taking time off was the mature, professional move, the smartest choice for his career, his brand, and his family.
I think that this is a very valid reason not to fight. We have seen people fight with things on their mind. There's too much at stake. There's too much at stake right now in his career. He is too big of a star to go in there compromised, not 100%. His heart elsewhere, his mind elsewhere. And so I think that what he is doing is the mature, it is the professional thing to do, and it's the smart thing to do for his career, for his brand, for himself, for his family.
Ariel argued that the interim title feels unnecessary, calling Justin versus Paddy a bogus fight to headline over Nunes versus Harrison. He said Paddy versus. Justin is fine as a #1 contender bout, but there was no real need for an interim belt when Ilia just won his title in June. In his view, this should have been a 5-round co-main, with Ilia versus Arman happening later in the year.
I said I wanted to see Paddy fight for the belt. God bless. I said, Justin, I think you need to win a couple more. He said he was going to retire unless he got a title fight. I guess he's not retiring. He's fighting for an interim title. But this is a bogus fight. And it's insane to me that it is headlining over Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. On paper, Paddy versus Justin, if Paddy wasn't fighting Ilia and Ilia's supposed to fight Arman, on paper, Paddy versus Justin is a fine fight to determine the #1 contender to fight Ilia and or Arman. Ilia won that belt back in June. I don't even think you need an interim title fight. Honestly, it should have been the co-main event, 5-round, #1 contender fight, Ilia versus Arman, second half of the year.
Next, Ariel blasted the situation, saying Arman did everything right, waited, made weight, finished Dan Hooker, yet somehow gets bypassed while Justin versus. Paddy becomes an interim title. He called it insane that Arman is now left in limbo and that this matchup is headlining the card over more deserving fights.
What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt now? I know he had the fight back in January. He got hurt. Sue the guy. He sat patiently. He went out there. He steamrolled right through Dan Hooker. He did exactly what he had to do. He did what Khamzat and Islam did not do. He finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion. And now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind. And he's not even next, apparently. Now, of course, everything can change. Nothing really means anything. They make up the rules as they go along. But to put Justin and Paddy in the interim title slot and then have the winner of that fight Ilia is insane to me. And worse than that, because we have seen interim title fights that have felt a little fugazi. I cannot believe that they are headlining this card with that fight.
Moving over, MMA Guru even predicted a Paddy upset, saying Pimblett's mix of grappling and long-range striking could give him the edge. He argued that Justin is at the tail end of his career, and unlike Chandler or Fiziev, Paddy won't stand in the pocket and trade, giving him a real chance to beat Gaethje.
I reckon Pimblett's beating him. Mixing up the grappling and the striking, staying at range, not being in the pocket with him like a Chandler would be, like a Fiziev would be. I reckon Pimblett's gonna beat him. Gaethje coming towards the tail end of his career. I just want to mention now.
He added that this whole situation is brutal for Arman Tsarukyan, who now might have to take another fight despite doing everything right. He said that unless Arman turned down this card, the matchmaking makes no sense, though he still admits Gaethje versus Paddy is a crazy matchup he's excited to see.
Arman Tsarukyan is... this is tough for Arman. Okay, he's probably going to have to fight someone else. He said he would be on this card. I don't know if they then called him and he said, no, I can't be on that card, and that's why they've done this. If that's what comes out from this, I guess it could be a bit more understandable, because otherwise it would have been Nunes Harrison to main event, and we just can't have that. We just can't have that. But this is insane. Gaethje versus Pimblett is an absolutely insane fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Enter Wade Plemons, who blasted the UFC's decision, saying the interim title fight makes zero sense when Arman Tsarukyan, the rightful #1 contender, isn't even part of the picture. He pointed out that the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy automatically gets Ilia next, which only exposes how ridiculous the matchmaking is. Wade argued that Dana won't explain it, and the UFC keeps drifting closer to WWE-style booking.
So not only, obviously, the interim title is there for a reason, but But not only are you going to get Paddy the Baddy versus Gaethje for the interim, but they're automatically going to get the title shot versus Ilya, which double makes this the stupidest interim title fight you could have at lightweight. Because one man is not involved. Where the hell is Arman Tsarukyan? This is the rightful number one contender at 155, and he is nowhere to be found in the plans for a title shot at 155. It makes no sense. Dana's not going to explain why, because he doesn't have to, because the UFC, again, is trending further and further away from a sport and further toward WWE.
Wade questioned how this matchup even makes sense. Gaethje talked retirement without a title shot and now gets an interim one, while Paddy jumps to a number one contender spot despite beating mostly aging opponents before Chandler. Wade said the Ilya-Paddy rivalry would have been fun, but Paddy still hasn't beaten a top 5 fighter to deserve this shot.
Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett. Now, Justin Gaethje had said, listen, I'm not going to continue fighting unless I get a title shot. I guess he kind of gets what he wants there as far as he gets an interim shot, right? He was like, I'm going to retire if you don't give me a shot at the belt. And then you have Paddy Pimblett, who, I'll be honest, yes, I did want to see fight Ilya Topuria because they have the rivalry, because it goes back for so long, because I think it would be a fun build to a fight. But when you look at Paddy's record, you have him beating Gordon, old man Tony Ferguson, old man Bobby Green, and then Michael Chandler. You fight who's in front of you, so I guess you can't really blame Paddy for that, but it's like, how does that offer you a number one contenders fight without fighting someone in the top 5?
The lightweight division feels upside down, stars leapfrogging rankings, contenders stuck waiting, and an interim belt that raises more questions than answers. Whether it's Gaethje, Paddy, Ilya, or Arman, the debates aren't slowing down. One thing's certain, this storyline is only getting messier from here, and fans are hyped.